For nearly 40 years, this case existed only as a question mark. A moment frozen in 1987, buried beneath aging police files, yellowed photographs, and memories that grew less reliable with time. People believed the truth had died with the decade it came from. No suspect, no confession, no justice. Just a name spoken less and less until even that felt dangerous to remember. But time has a way of circling back, and when it does, it doesn't ask permission. In 1987, Michigan felt predictable. Life followed routines. People trusted their surroundings. Crime was something you heard about somewhere else, not something that arrived on your street uninvited. Then one morning shattered that sense of safety. A body was discovered in a place no one expected violence to reach. The shock wasn't just about death. It was about realization. Someone capable of doing this lived among them, walked the same roads, blended in without resistance. Police responded quickly, but urgency doesn't equal answers. The scene was processed using the best methods available at the time, yet those methods were limited. Evidence was collected carefully, but without the knowledge that decades later, it might hold the key to everything. Officers canvassed the area. Neighbors were questioned. Friends, coworkers, acquaintances all came under scrutiny. Everyone wanted answers, but no one had them. As days passed, rumors filled the silence. People speculated. Some pointed fingers. Others withdrew completely, afraid that speaking too much might somehow make them vulnerable. Tips flooded in at first. Anonymous calls, whispered suspicions, half-remembered sightings, but none of them held up under scrutiny. Each lead collapsed under its own uncertainty. Investigators faced a brutal reality. Without witnesses, without a confession, without technology capable of pulling truth from microscopic evidence, the case slowly lost traction. Not because police stopped caring, but because there was nowhere left to go. Eventually, resources were redirected. New crimes demanded attention. The case was moved from desks to storage, from active investigation to unresolved history. For the victim's family, the pause felt like abandonment. Every unanswered question became a weight they carried alone. Birthdays arrived without celebration. Anniversaries passed without peace. They lived in a permanent state of waiting, knowing the world expected them to move on while they remained trapped in a moment that never ended. Years turned into decades. Michigan changed. Businesses closed. New families moved in. The story faded into local folklore, then disappeared altogether. To most people, it was a tragedy from another time. To the family, it was still happening. Behind locked doors, the evidence remained untouched. Hair samples, fibers, biological material collected before anyone truly understood its future value. At the time, it was impossible to know that science itself would one day become the witness no one had. By the early 2000s, forensic breakthroughs began rewriting the rules of criminal investigation. DNA analysis advanced. Databases expanded. Cold case units emerged with a singular mission: to revisit what had been left behind. Even so, this case remained dormant. Funding was limited. Priorities shifted. Thousands of unsolved crimes competed for attention. Then, quietly, the impossible began. A detective reviewing archived cases noticed something different. Evidence preserved unusually well. Notes that suggested procedures ahead of their time. Material that hadn't been fully tested, not due to negligence, but because the science simply hadn't existed yet. The decision to reopen the case wasn't dramatic. It was procedural, almost routine. The lab results were anything but. For the first time since 1987, the evidence spoke clearly. A usable DNA profile emerged. Not speculation. Not theory. Science. Investigators moved cautiously. A single mistake could destroy decades of hope. When traditional databases returned no direct match, they turned to genetic genealogy, a method that didn't exist when the crime occurred. By tracing distant relatives, building family trees branch by branch, eliminating names slowly and methodically. Investigators narrowed the field. The process took months, sometimes years. Each discovery brought them closer to someone who had lived freely for decades, unaware that the past was closing in. When a suspect finally emerged, disbelief followed. This wasn't a stranger. This wasn't someone on the margins of society. This was someone who had built a life, a career, relationships, someone who had been trusted. Surveillance confirmed patterns. Timelines aligned. Old statements were re-examined through a modern lens. The pieces fit in a way they never had before. The arrest was planned carefully, without spectacle. No warnings. No leaks. When police knocked on the door, the past collided with the present. News of the arrest spread rapidly. Shock rippled through the community. People questioned their memories, their instincts, their assumptions. How could someone live among them for so long without suspicion? How many times had they crossed paths without knowing? For the family, the moment was overwhelming. Relief didn't arrive cleanly. It collided with grief, anger, and exhaustion. Justice came, but far too late to repair what had been lost. In court, science became the voice of the victim. DNA evidence bridged decades of silence. The defense challenged memory, time, and preservation, but facts held firm. This wasn't guesswork. This was proof. The case became more than a conviction. It became a message, a warning, a promise. Cold cases are not dead. They are waiting. Today, the evidence box no longer gathers dust. The victim's name is spoken again, not as a mystery, but as a truth finally acknowledged. The community will never regain its old sense of innocence, but it gains something else, certainty. Because time no longer protects those who commit violence, and silence is no longer permanent. Somewhere, another forgotten case is waiting, and eventually it will speak too.